have to get some writing done. So let's do what we gotta do, child. Y'all got about like an hour and a half. Okay, y'all can hear me, child. I'll make sure. Y'all, I am so sleepy. But I told y'all these books are not gonna write themselves. So we gotta get it done. Gotta get it done. So y'all, okay, so y'all know we've been for the last two live streams, we've been watching these parole hearings. And y'all, I got another one. This one is we're gonna watch this one while we write. Let me show y'all this one. It says he fatally stabbed his wife 19 times. 19 times, y'all. His kids do all they can to keep him locked up. And I would do the same thing, child. Okay. Nope. Stay in there. Keep them in there. Y'all know how I feel about it, child. Keep them all keep them all in there, child. Okay. Because if you done messed up, I don't know. I'm not holding out hope for you. But y'all, I'm a little bit tougher than most. You know, like I like I'm not like that one lady who was just eating up everything that inmate was saying, child. I'm not like that. I just be like, whatever. So we're gonna watch this one together, and I'm going to continue writing. Like I told y'all earlier, I am I'm at the end of the book, and I am just doing the last bit of edits on these last sections of the book. So I'm making great progress, like you get in the trenches and you stay focused, you'll get it done. So that's what I'm doing right now. I just remember that I added a bonus section to the book. Um, so I'm about to put that in now. Yeah. So I'm about to put that in and then like work on the last bit of edits for this book. And I really believe you guys that you're gonna be you're gonna be touched, you're going to be changed, you're gonna be transformed with this book. It's giving what it's supposed to give, you know. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of it so far. I can't really say that I was proud of the first book. I mean, like I was proud, but like not it was just like just because I did it. It's like okay, I did it. So, I'm proud of myself for that. But but like I still feel like it just I don't know, I'm probably just be a real overcritical, which I have a tendency to do. But I don't know, I just feel like I want like after I wrote it and released it and stuff, I was like, I want to rewrite it. But that's kind of like my toxic trait. I admit that. Sometimes like I do something, I complete it, and then I'm like, oh, I don't like it no more. And then I just want to like totally start over and do it over again. That's a thing about me. I'm working on it, y'all. Okay, I'm aware of it and I'm working on it. So that's all I can say about that right now. So let's go ahead and get into this hearing. This guy, y'all, stabbed his wife 19 times. And the kids are like, nope, keep him in there. Don't let him out. So let me see what this says right here. It says this was a Louisiana parole board hearing from November of 2022. It says Catherine obtained restraining order while filing for divorce. Y'all, that's what get him. It gets him every time, child. Gets them every time. Some people will not let you leave them. They will not let you leave, child. You gotta be real. That's the most dangerous time for a woman is when she's leaving a relationship. That is the most dangerous time. And it says, but that was not successful in protecting her life. So he, wait a minute, what? Oh, okay. So he unalived her on the in April of 2003. So in 2022, he's trying to get parole. Okay. So what is that, like 19 years? Yeah, 19 and a half years. So it says her husband, Willie Mayo. I wonder if that's a typo. It's gotta be. Okay. He was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 30 years. He served 19 and a half years and is currently 71 years old. He was a first time offender. Um, and obviously that was his crime that landed him in there for 30 years. But his kids are like, nah, keep him in there, child. So let's see what's going on with this case.
Okay. Our remote location is Hunt with staff support of Hunt. Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Warden Donnie Barlow.
Christy LeBlanc, classification.
Assistant Warden Carl Thomas, security.
Assistant Warden.
All right. And we have some guests today, some that'll speak opposition, some for. We have Mr. Mark Mayhew. We have Ms. Valerie Grove. We have Ms. Louise Sasson. We have Mr. Jeffrey Sasson, Megan Kowalski, Sarah Trostlayer, Alan Mayu, John Grove, and John Grove. Did I miss anybody? Everybody, okay. At its appropriate time, we will allow you guys to make your statement. Okay. Thank you for being here. It looks like we have some guests there. Could guests introduce yourself there at Hunt? Is that some guests back there?
I'm Tom or Thomas, my youth. I'm Billy's brother.
Okay. And who was the other person?
Robert Mayu, Billy Toler's brother.
Okay. And we do have Carrie Myers here, right? Correct, Carrie. And did I miss someone? We have.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, we do have some other visitors that are off camera. They can introduce themselves.
And introduce themselves.
Sister-in-law Karen Mayu, sister-in-law Debbie Mayu.
And Mr. Kelsey, Robert Lancaster with LSU Law Clinic here representing Mr. Mayu.
May it please the Honorable Committee, my name is Bianca Cruz. I'm a certified legal intern through the Louisiana Supreme Court Rule 20. Today I'm representing Mr. Willie Mayu through the LSU Parole and Reentry Clinic. And as you heard, my supervisor, Robert Lancaster, is here with me today. And I will be making my closing statement at the conclusion of this hearing after Mr. Mayu speaks.
All right, thank you. And we also have Miss Sarah Trostlayer. Did I introduce Miss Sarah? Yeah. And we have Mr. Barry Miller. Mr. Barry will speak at the appropriate time. Did I catch everyone? Did I leave anybody out? I think we got it covered. All right, we're ready for our first case. Please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
Willie G. Mayu, 479-444.
All right, Mr. Willie, again, you heard the introductions. We'll be your parole panel. We'll ask you some questions. You can respond. At the end, you can make a statement. We'll take a vote. We have people that'll speak at the appropriate time. We'll get everybody's input and then have the final vote. Do you understand the process?
Yes, sir.
Willie Mayu, DOC number 479444, your first class offender. Parole eligibility date 5/8/2023. Good time date 11/12/2027. Full term date 5/6/2033. You have a 30-year sentence for aggravated burglary and manslaughter. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you answer Miss Bonnie Jackson's question, please?
Good morning, Mr. Mayu. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Bonnie Jackson. Your case has been assigned to me. So I'll start the questioning for the board. How old are you, Mr. Mayu?
I'm 71 on February 28th, 1951. I was born.
Right. And how long have you been incarcerated? On this charge?
About 19 and a half years.
Okay. And you are serving a 30-year sentence, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
We have the records before us, Mr. Mayu. You killed your wife. You stabbed her to death in her home. Very violent and vicious crime. And on the aggravated burglary, you went to a gentleman's home under the impression that your wife was having an intimate relationship, and you beat a gentleman at the home. However, he was not the person that you suspected that your wife was having a relationship with. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You were 51 years old at the time of this offense. Is that correct?
I think I was 52.
So you were not a young man. You were well into middle age at the time that you committed these offenses. Would you please tell the board what was going on with you around this time that would cause you to commit these really terrible crimes? So tell us why you believe you committed these crimes.
Well, my wife had went on a conference to Washington, D.C. in January of 2003, I'm sorry. And she was there for like 7 days. And I understand she had an affair in Washington, D.C. And when she came back after the 7 days, we talked and we tried to make things happen and work with our relationship. But she ended up continuing her affair. And on March 17th, she called me up. I was playing golf and I had been drinking. And she called me up and told me that she was on her way to her attorney to file for divorce. And I just went, I just lost it, and I didn't know what really to do. And I took it out on, I knew where this guy lived and I knew his name, but I've never seen him. I made a horrible mistake, and I went to his house. I walked up to the door, and it was a glass door, and a guy was sitting there watching TV, and I should have never done it, but I went inside and I climbed on top of him and started fighting him. And he bit me on both my chest really hard, and I could try to get him to stop. I put my fingers in his eyes until he released me. And then he told me I got the wrong guy. It's his brother. And I kind of slacked up and got off. He got my hair and drugged me around, and he got the upper hand and drugged me outside. And that was the aggravated burglary.
And did the burglary happen in relationship to the murder? How long before the murder did the burglary happen?
That was on March 17th, and the murder happened, or the manslaughter happened on April 5th of 2003.
Okay, so you had time between those two offenses to have thought about what you had done at the gentleman's home and to perhaps reassess your son. So I'm kind of, it's not like you left his house and then went to your house and committed this crime. You had at least 3 weeks to process what you had already done.
Yes, ma'am. I had,
Were you arrested when were you arrested in connection with the aggravated burglary?
on advice of some people, I stayed away for like 2 weeks before I went and turned myself in at the Jefferson Parish Police Department. And that's when they arrested me.
And then you bonded out of jail immediately?
Yes, ma'am.
And then how long after bonding out of jail did you take your wife's life?
After I bonded out of jail, I guess it was about a week. Her and my son came to our residence and to pick up some stuff. And I was there to see my son. I hadn't seen him in a couple of weeks. And whenever he came, he and I hugged, and my wife and I talked, and my son ended up going to take a shower. I should have never been there. I should have been still.
Was there a protective order in place?
Not that not that I know of. My son went to take a shower, and me and my wife got in a terrible argument over the affair, and a lot of bad things were said, both me and her, and I was talking about the affair, and she told me that not only had she been having an affair with this guy, she had an affair with 2 of my good friends, and I ended up hitting her. I hit her twice. And then the next thing I knew, she had a knife and stabbed me. And I just completely lost it. Went in a blind rage and ended up stabbing her.
You said that you had been drinking?
Yes. Well, not that day, no, ma'am. I had went out that night, and I had been drinking the night before.
Did you have a problem with alcohol?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I didn't realize how bad it was until I was incarcerated, and after being incarcerated, I have realized that I'm definitely an alcoholic.
Well, what were you drinking like back then?
I'm sorry,
What was your drinking like back then?
I was a binge drinker. I didn't drink at home very often at all. We didn't have hardly any alcohol. My wife and I wanted to protect our children at all costs. But I played a lot of golf, and I played way too much golf. And when I played golf, I drank alcohol to over excess, and that has caused a lot of my problems.
And we lost you on the main screen, but I can see you on the other screen. Was there a history? Can you hear me, Mr. Mayu?
Yes, ma'am. Now I can.
Was there a history of domestic violence in your relationship with your wife?
No, ma'am. I've never hit her or did anything. We've never had any kind of domestic problems other than your normal everyday problems.
Well, the record indicates that there was a protective order in place at the time of this offense.
I didn't realize there was. After I left after the aggravated burglary charge, my house was vacant, and I had inquired about going back to my house, and that's where I went to. You know, I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to be there when she came.
Was, okay, there you're back. So after you, stabbed your wife to death, where was your son while all this was going on?
He was in the shower, taking a shower.
And after you had this, as you say, fight with your wife, what did you do?
I ended up leaving and going, I was stabbed pretty bad. I ended up leaving and going towards the hospital to take care of my wound. And I had, as I was going down River Road, I was going into the other lane, and I could see I may have a wreck. So I went up on the levee, and that's the last I remember. I passed out and went down the trees. And that's where they ended up finding me.
So your son was 17 at the time of this crime,
Yes, ma'am.
and he was in the house, and so he was the one who actually discovered your wife's body. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It's a terrible thing. I guess I was a coward for leaving it. You know, along with everything else I've done, I didn't know, wasn't in my right mind.
But you say you weren't under the influence of alcohol.
I may have been under the after effects of alcohol. I didn't drink anything that morning of the crime.
Let's kind of move forward today. Mr. Meyer, as I indicated, you're 71 years old.
See, I want to hear what his kids have to say about it. Like that's what intrigued me about this case. I mean, like what he's talking about his, his rage and all that stuff. That's like it sounds like the typical, like crime of passion type stuff. Where he gets upset, goes into like he said, a blind rage, and and commits this horrible crime. But also, like, can you really say it's a crime of passion when he attacked multiple people? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, but I guess maybe according to how they categorize it legally, maybe it is. I don't know, child, but like I said, that is the most dangerous time for a woman, is when she is leaving a relationship. And that's why discernment is so important. Even when you're thinking about leaving the relationship, you have to be smart about it. Like, as soon as you know something, it may not be the time that you should leave. Like, you just hearing about, okay, this man has cheated on me, he's done these things. But like, you dealing with somebody who is like violent and stuff like that, you got to be really smart about when you leave. And she had kids. From what I heard, one of the parole boards say is that the son was 17 when it happened. I wonder if he was like the oldest child at the time. I don't know. But can you imagine that? Like, you just took your kid's mother from them. And not only that, but you just took their father too, because like now you're in prison. So now your kids are parentless. It's just crazy. That blind rage, that rage, it'll get you, child. It'll get you. So that's why you got to be really discerning and emotionally intelligent. That's part of the discernment process, is, being in tune with your emotions, because they'll defeat you if you're not in control of them. They'll control you. So let's continue.
Sir, a little less than 20 years on the sentence. I show that during your incarceration, you've only had 3 write-ups, the last one being in 2020. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. I've had other write-ups, but just 3 recently. I didn't have any. I had maybe 1 or 2 write-ups in 2000, between 2003 and 2008. But after 2008, I didn't have any until 2020.
Thank you for clearing that up. So it was a Rule 5, which was an aggravated disobedience. You want to tell us about that?
Yes, ma'am. I had been transferred from state police barracks, and I was in the Beaver unit. And at that time, the Beaver unit, this was in May or August, in that realm of time, and in 2020, and the bars in the Beaver unit didn't operate correctly. You could pull on the bars and they would open up. I was in my cell sleeping, and they had like 4 or 5 guys who had drugs, mojo, and they broke into my cell, woke me up, and attempted to steal my canteen. And I had a confrontation with them, and they ended up getting me thrown out of the tier. And then they brought a lieutenant in, and I told the lieutenant what happened. And the lieutenant tried to get me to say who was the guys that did it. And I didn't know their names, and I didn't tell him who it was for fear of them coming back at me. And he told me if I didn't tell him, he was going to write me up for aggravated disobedience.
Okay. Now, you mentioned state police barracks.
Yes, ma'am.
When were you assigned to the state police barracks?
I went to the state police barracks in June of 2013, and I stayed there through May of 2020. I was working at as the radio maintenance at the Louisiana State Police Headquarters for 7 years.
And this write-up in 2020 is what caused you to be removed from the barracks?
No, ma'am.
Why were you removed? Why were you removed from the barracks?
I was given a Christmas present, and I kept $30 of it instead of turning it all in. And that was a terrible mistake on my part. And when they came during the COVID, when nobody was there, they searched my office, and they found $30 or $26, I think it was, in the a notebook in my office.
And you were written up for contraband,
Yes, ma'am.
and they removed you from the barracks. Is that
Yes, ma'am.
I see?
He don't really sound like a bad dude otherwise, like other than what he did. Like the other things that he said, he don't really sound like a bad person. What do y'all think? I'm not getting like psychopath vibes from him, like some of them other ones. But I mean, obviously he did a crime, he did a few crimes, multiple crimes. So at least 2. So, I mean, obviously there's something there, but just based on how he's talking and his time in jail, in prison or whatever, he doesn't really seem like he's done like terrible things, Let's continue.
See, Mr. Mayu, that you have taken a number of programs during your incarceration. You've done anger management, and then an anger management aftercare program. You've done Alcoholics Anonymous for a number of years. You've taken faith-based programs. Looks like another anger management, several anger management programs. Why have you taken so many different anger management programs?
I just wanted to get the most out of it that I could because I know I have an anger problem, and I just kept repeating it to where I know that I would do better in life. And I'm all about trying to get better, and I'm so sorry for what I've done. I have hurt so many people that I love, and it's just a terrible thing. I'm trying to improve.
Well, you've also taken, well, tell me about the substance abuse programs that you participated in. What did you get out of participation in those programs?
I have taken a living in balance program that's the substance abuse, and it talks about a lot of different things. It was a really good program. It talked about alcohol, drugs, your family problems, the way you grew up. It prepared you when you get out, where you can go to find self-help in different programs.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what do you think your main issues have been throughout your life, Mr. Mayu?
My main issues are probably three main issues. One is alcohol, definitely. I know I'm an alcoholic now. It was no doubt. Anger has been a big problem, and also jealousy.
And those are the things that contributed to your actions. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I see that you took nurturing parenting. Tell us about that and why you chose to take that.
Well, that's just a class where it helps you with the raising of your children and tells you about the discipline and all that.
You also took victim awareness. So tell me about victim awareness and how that might have impacted you.
Well, the victim awareness is they had a lot of victims came in and gave their stories and talked, and it was really devastating to hear the effects on their family and their lives. And I already know that what I've done, it has affected my whole family and everybody that I love. And it's just, the victim awareness was just a reminder of how everybody is hurt, and the hurt never goes away. If anything, it gets worse.
And
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say you completed victim accountability letter training. Have you actually written a victim accountability letter?
Yes, ma'am. I've written a letter to the assassin family and to the Salines.
What about your children? Kind of have any kind of relationship with them at all?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, I didn't realize that I wasn't supposed to contact them. In over 20 years that I've been or 19 and half years I've been incarcerated, I've tried my best to keep in touch with them and help them in any and every way that I could. And
Wait, okay, let's back up. When you say you tried to keep in touch with them, what did you do to try to keep in touch with them?
by writing letters at first, and then we have the JPay, and I was emailing them. And I had my son's phone number and I was calling him and all, and my son came and saw me 2 or 3 times when I was at the state police barracks.
And you said you've attempted to help them. How have you attempted to help them?
I gave, it's what I was obligated to do, really. I mean, I didn't think anything of it. I don't think anything of it. I paid for my daughter's wedding. I paid for my son to start a tattoo, help pay for a tattoo shop that he.
How did he do all that, y'all? How did he do all that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I don't know, but like I said, y'all, he doesn't sound like them other ones, you know. Like he sounds like he's really actually doing the work. He's taking classes multiple times. Like he's showing a lot more proof that he is maybe not rehabilitated, but is rehabilitating. You know, like he's still in the process. He's doing the work. So to me, he gives a lot more hope than the other ones that we looked at, especially because like that was his first offense. It was, you know, maybe what could be considered as a crime of passion. You know, he doesn't really seem to be much of a threat to everybody else. He's aware of his drinking issues. He's admitted to being an alcoholic. It, like, to me, he shows a lot more hope than the other ones. Like, so right now I feel better about this guy, you know. Like he served 19 and a half years of his 30-year sentence. He's 71, so the likelihood of him really kind of doing more dirt doesn't really seem like it's a good likelihood of that. Plus he's done things for his kids since he's been in there, and I don't even like, y'all, I don't know how he did all that. How did he pay for his daughter's wedding? How did he pay for his son to start a tattoo studio? But I want to hear what the kids have to say. The kids still haven't spoken yet. Maybe there's more to the story that he's not telling, but the kids know. Because if they're trying to keep him in there, you know, maybe it's just loyalty to the mom. Hey, you took our mom, you know, and so you need to do all your time. It could be that, or it could be there's more to the story with this guy. But right now, it seems like he's not that terrible of a guy. Like, you know, it seems like he gives me more hope than the other ones. Let's put it that way.
He had,
What
and
do
my
y'all think
youngest
about
daughter,
that?
I've been trying to help her with college
And how to try to help her with college?
by giving her money to pay for. I was giving her from $500 a month to up to $1,000 a month, trying to help.
How were you able to do that, given that you've been incarcerated for almost 20 years? Where did the resources come from?
I worked for 32 years for Occidental Chemical, and I had a decent 401k plan, and I was using, my brother, Tom, has been my power of attorney, and he has taken care of my 401k through a financial advisor. And, you know, with the stock market being pretty good through the years, I took my earnings from the stock market and tried to help my kids.
I just want you to know that you have a tremendous amount of opposition to your early release, Mr. Mayu, from the victims of both crimes, from law enforcement, from the judiciary, the DA, the Attorney General's office. There's a tremendous amount of opposition to your release. In light of the fact that you served less than 20 years, and you do have a date in 2027. I recognize that you are 71 years old, but you do have a good time date in 2027, that you'll be regardless of what this board chooses to do today. So why should we consider releasing you early, given the opposition, very strong opposition, and just the really gruesome, horrible nature of the crime? Why do you think we should reduce your sentence and release you early?
Well, I realize the terrible crime that I committed. I am unbelievably sorry for what I've done. I have hurt everyone that I've loved or cared about in my entire life. And I understand their pain and misery, and I understand why they have the opposition against me. I have taken all these classes and all the anger management and everything to try to help improve my life and turn everything around. And we're given the opportunity. I will continue with the AA program and go to AA meetings and share my story and try to help others that have similar problems to mine.
Warden, what can you tell us about Mr. Mayu?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Bonnie. It's a horrible situation, horrible crime. That they took the life of Ms. Mayu and destroyed two families. That being said, nothing can take that back. But since Mr. Mayu's been here and he's been working hard, he's took a lot of classes to try to benefit himself, a lot of programs. He's a trustee. When she goes out the gate and works, he's been doing well. I do believe that I would like to see him take victim impact so he can better understand the impact that he caused the family of the victim, and continue, of course, on with his substance abuse and anger management.
Thank you, Warden. Ms. Mayu, what's your job at the prison?
I've been working for DOC headquarters for the last about year and 2 months. We was building cubicles in the headquarters, and I was the two-room man and paint room guy and helped with inventory and whatever they needed.
What are you doing now?
Right now, I've had several numerous call-outs, and I have just recently been reassigned to #1 maintenance.
How's your health?
I think that's why I was reassigned. I have a bunch of hernias, and I just found out I had skin cancer. And I think they have scheduled a surgery, for that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayu. Mr. Kelly, you have someone.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Kerry Meyer.
Yes, good morning. Kerry Myers with the Louisiana Parole Project. I think listening to Mr. Mayu, you can recognize that he is certainly aware of the harm that he's caused, and his remorse is sincere. At 71 years old, you can look at his record, except for the 2020, he's had an excellent disciplinary record, and he has addressed that. He's taking any number of programs to address the issues that brought him to prison. And he is committed to continuing with AA, NA. He has a strong support plan with his family. He has Parole Project to help him through his transition. His parole eligibility date is actually in May of 2023. He still has time. This board grants him today to take victim impact, to continue the things that he's been doing. At age 71, based on the programs that he's taken, he's a first offender. He's addressed his issues. Mr. Mayu and I believe that everyone would be better served if Mr. Mayu did the rest of his sentence on parole supervision, even though he does have a good time date, the board gets the ability to set conditions for him on parole supervision. We are certainly in support of Mr. Mayhew's release, and Parole Project will provide him that transitional support. So we ask that this board grant his parole today.
I thank you. Okay, we'll hear from Thomas.
Excuse me, I have just a little bit of problem with my breathing. I just recently got out of the hospital, so if
Okay, go ahead and make your statement. Yes, sir.
I make too many noises while I'm trying to read this, I'd like y'all to excuse me. Billy. We call him Billy. His given name is Willie. We called him Billy for years and years. Our friends and family, I'm known as Tommy. Willie is his name is Billy, and my older brother here is Robert, but he was always called Bobby. So I'm just telling you something of us when we were young. We grew up in a little town of Glenmore. Central part of Louisiana, lived on a gravel road, and had a lot of fun in the fields and stuff like that behind my grandma's house. Billy was just like any other boy at that age, you know. We worked with him, and we lived with him for years. I have tried my best to help as a consultant, advisor, whatever he needed. Sometimes maybe I did some good, sometimes I probably didn't. But at least I tried. The thing that I'd like to bring forward mostly is that Billy's been in for nearly 20 years now. He has been very, very, trying to think of the proper word, I guess, remorseful, I guess, is as good as any. He has been very, very remorseful about what's happened. He's talked to me about some of the things, nothing in particular, just the fact that he rebuilds it at night, everything that he can remember, and it tears him up. You know, Billy, as a 71-year-old man, having spent the time he spent here and taking the programs that he's taken here, I don't believe that he could be a threat to society right now. I just don't believe that. My family and I have tried our best to help with anything that he needed and with the children as much as we could help. But I would really appreciate it if y'all would consider the fact that he could become a member of society and a useful member of society. I'd like to thank the board for listening to me. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Robert Mayu?
Yes, my name's Robert Mayu. I'm Billy's older brother. Billy and I have always been close. He plans to stay at our house as long as necessary and complete anything that any requirements that you may suggest. And he'll have eyes on him 24/7. Not thinking that he needs it, but just to help him make sure that he doesn't get back in the situation that he's in now or affect anyone's life. I have a 3 and 4 year old grandchildren and daughter, and they visit our house often, and I feel very comfortable with Billy being around them. They spend the night with us, and it would be a pleasure for them to know their honorable field. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for your comment. Now we're here for Miss Louise Sassen. Right, yeah. Oh, come on, Mark wants to go. Okay. Mr. Mark, you can go first.
I originally planned on coming and being here today. I submitted one of the confidential forms. And in that, when I was filling it out, I was trying to be fair, even tempered, and trying to give just knowing that a man's opportunity for a little bit of freedom at the end of his life, let's see, and having led a life, trying to be the best kind of person that I know how to be, trying to be fair. I try to remain as neutral and put aside any hurt feelings and all that. And as I filled out that form, I found that I was pretty squarely in the camp of opposition. It's my father's release. I prepared today, but I decided to just respond to what I've heard so far instead. Short 19 years ago, my mom and dad were in the middle of getting a divorce. My mom had been having an affair, like you heard. He had mentioned that they were trying to work things out. And I remember two distinct conversations, one in Mardi Gras, sitting in the after band with my mom. And we had just kind of gotten to a point where I was old enough that we were talking about some realer things and talking a little more plain with each other. And she told me that if only he could quit his drinking and stop placing golf and everything else before any of his family, make an attempt to be a passable father and decent husband, that they'd be able to move past and be able to really work with these things. I saw him shortly thereafter, where he told me that he just wished he knew what he could do to get his family back. And I said, look, you won't believe this. I just had a conversation with mom with those answers. And I relayed that information to him. And he said, well, golf's the only thing I enjoy doing. And, I drink because life's hard and I've got problems. So it's not going to change. That was before the morning of April 5th. That was the moment where I realized that my father would never think beyond himself. And a big part of what led me to writing a statement, trying to be fair and trying to be objective, was mostly just trying not to be on that morning, I was living across the street at a friend's house. My mom called me to remind me that I had agreed to help her move all of our stuff into the new house that she rented for us. I, of course, had forgotten and overslept. I walked right across just as she pulled up. His truck was there. She got out, and the first thing she told me was, he's not supposed to be there. I had known about the attack on the guy that he suspected of being the gentleman that he was having an affair with. I knew that she was worried for her safety and ours. That didn't seem like a realistic problem to me at the time. Obviously, I was wrong. He asked if he could unload some boxes. I looked at her, and she was like, "Yeah." So that's what we did. And I was going about picking up my stuff. still real tired. My mom, knowing that I was got out of the shower before I was able to move around kind of guy, suggested that I have a shower because we had a lot to do that day. So I did it. I hopped in the shower, turned on the stereo like I did every time I was in the shower, and walked out and found my mother face down, in a pool of blood. My father nowhere in sight. He had left me there after repeatedly stabbing her. Said something about driving to a hospital. You go out and see where the levee is. I don't know how he would have accidentally driven off the road over the levee into the other side, running from the cops, from where I spent a lot of time first mad at him for everything. At some point, during prayer and walk with faith that I had for a long time, trying to figure out maybe I could be just as easily in that situation if things were different. And I can tell you that almost exactly a year ago, my wife left me as she was in a relationship with someone else, and she was walking around breathing. We have 2 children that we both still get to parent, so I can, without a doubt, answer that I would not do the same thing in his situation. I was really nervous to come talk today for a bunch of different reasons. It's been a possibility family, I'm sure, family that's already been kind of torn apart and faced at each other. Some folks supportive of my dad, some not. After talking, I realized that there is a real possibility that he gets out. He very well may hold a grudge about me speaking against him. Got another story for you. I was in the garage helping him clean out something or trying to find something. I found this plaque that had a roach sheet to it. And I asked him about it. And he said, "Oh, that's I was married before, and that was the wedding certificate that was framed for his previous marriage. Had a roach had tape over his name." And he explained that whenever his previous wife left him, her brother taped roach over his name and left it there. And he had kept it all those years to remind himself that he owed them. So, yeah, so knowing what I know about him, I'm worried, talk to mom, that, he says that he'll just leave us alone. He had a restraining order against him that he most certainly knew about, that he ignored. I don't see why it's not within the realm of possibility that he can try to seek to hurt us.
I think that's a very real speech that he gave. I don't think he's done, but it's real. He's saying maybe if I was in that position, I don't know how I would have handled it. My wife left me, and he probably went through the rage, all the emotions, all the things. And I can't relate. Okay. I can't relate. But I can sympathize a little, I can see where, a person can view it as like my life is over. It's all over. Like I just can't even imagine, this person sleeping with someone else. And, it's just like I can see how a person would, be in that headspace, you know? And I guess that's an important thing, especially, you know, when you're looking at other people's situation and you're making a judgment on their situation. Like, true enough, he has to suffer the consequences of his actions. But also there is a side of, you just being kind of like a human and knowing how those experiences are. Where you kind of like, it's like, yeah, I could kind of see how, a person could, kind of lose their mind, especially if they don't really have a strong hold on things anyway, And then that, the guy that gave his speech, I think that was, it was a bit thoughtful of him to think about it in those terms, I'm sure time has probably helped this situation, help you to be able to see things from another person's perspective. Not that you agree, not that you would do the same thing, not that you approve of it or, any of those things, but just from the simple fact that you could see how people could be in that headspace. So I don't know, y'all. I'm kind of thinking they're gonna let him go. Because he really doesn't seem to be like a threat. He doesn't seem to be a threat to society, like the other guy said. That's what I was saying in the beginning. I'm like, this guy, he doesn't seem like the rest of them, I mean, he did the crime, true enough, serving 19 and a half of his 30. I mean, he took a life, she'll never be able to see her kids again. She'll never be able to, hold her grandkids and see them grow, and her great grands, and she'll never experience that. Her life was taken, and we have to consider that, you know. So I don't know, where do y'all stand on this? I'm kind of thinking, go ahead and let him go. I think he's done time. He stayed out of trouble. He's done work. He's acknowledged his crimes. He appears remorseful. He's he appears to be trying to be somewhat of a present father, even though, he took himself away from the situation and the mother, but as far as like trying to clean it up, I kind of think they're probably gonna let him go. But let's see.
Sorry, I had other thoughts, but
Sure. Thank you. So.
here, let's say, he wrote to us, like he said, for years. I read those letters for years. It took somewhere around 10 years before he stopped referring to what happened April 5th as this thing that happened to our kid. He refused to accept responsibility for what he had done for a decade. I had written him letter after letter.
I'm sorry, you guys. We're not gonna be able to finish this one right now. I gotta go. My husband's car was in the shop, and now it's ready to be picked up. So I gotta go, and so he can pick up his car. So we will continue this later. I seriously doubt I'm about to come back. I might not even come back tonight. It might be like super late when I come back. Because I need a serious nap. Y'all saw how many times I yawned, honey. Like, I am like sleepy beyond sleepy. So I'm probably gonna take a nap and then possibly get back up like later this evening and finish it out. I'm on the last few sections. I was really hoping I could get it done before we had to go pick up the car, but it didn't happen. So I will see y'all later. Again, this is the Mandu channel on YouTube. You're welcome to go and peruse these cases yourself. There's a lot of cases on there. So you'll see, a lot of different parole hearings and all that stuff. So, go ahead and check out that channel, subscribe to the channel. I'm subscribed, and make sure you guys like this video and let me know what you're working on so we can hold each other accountable. Okay. I love y'all. I'll see y'all later. And remember, you are important to me. I